Hi guys, Yasas que Carlos Sirtate to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a simple, delicious, and vegan dessert. It's known as Tahini Halva or Halvas in Greek, Halva in English, they make this dessert in the Middle East, in the Mediterranean, pretty much all around the world. Even in India and Pakistan, they have a version of this. So simple, so delicious, sort of healthy too, so you really can't beat it. And you can add in your favorite ingredients like nuts or even chocolate, sesame seeds. There's so many ways to do it. Let's get started. So we're gonna start with a small saucepan over medium heat. I have 1.5 cups of granulated sugar in it. And to it, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of water. And you are gonna need a candy thermometer for this. They sell it in any kitchen supply store. I'll also put a link on Amazon where you can find one, because you're gonna have to bring this mixture to a boil and then get it to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That's right in between the softball and hardball phase of candy making. Without a thermometer, you just never will know when it'll get to that. It takes about 7 minutes or so once it starts boiling. So just make sure that you stir it so that way the sugar doesn't stick to the bottom. And once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna put the candy thermometer in there. And as soon as it reaches 250 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm gonna take it off the heat and we'll move on to the next step. But in the meantime, we're gonna put the rest of the ingredients, which are just 3 ingredients, into a bowl. Now this is tahini paste. Tahini paste is basically ground up sesame paste. And the oil generally rises to the top. You're gonna wanna mix it before you start measuring. But what I do first is I take some of that oil and I swish it around the measuring cups that I'm gonna be using. What that does is it makes it very easy for the tahini to just slide out of the cup instead of getting stuck in there. So go ahead, get that oil in there. And then just make sure that you mix it well so you don't just get a big bunch of oil at the top and then the bottom of the tahini is gonna be really dry. So that's good enough. We're gonna need 1.5 cups of tahini paste. See how easy it comes out? A little pinch of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Just mix it all up. And that's it. Now we're just gonna wait for the sugar syrup to be ready. So once it reaches 250 degrees, you want to take it off of the heat and then carefully stream it into the side of the bowl while you're mixing. Now be careful not to overmix, because I've done that, and when you overmix, it's just going to dry up on you. Okay, once you see it set and it basically holds together and forms a ribbon, at this point you really want to stop mixing, because if you can see, it's starting to dry up a little bit. You want to have a loaf pan that's lined with parchment paper, ready to go, and then just transfer the mixture into the pan. Wait a second. Hold on. Get that parchment paper in there properly, you guys, so that way this doesn't happen. And just smooth it out. It starts to set fairly quickly. So now you want to set this aside and let it set. It's going to take about an hour or two. You can definitely put this in the refrigerator. It'll set much faster. Now keep in mind that before adding it to the bowl, you could definitely stir in some of your favorite ingredients like roasted almonds or pistachios, whatever your favorite nuts are. You can chop them up and put them in there. Chocolate chips would be really nice too. Or you can just leave it plain the way I have it right here. And then once it sets, you can drizzle some dark chocolate, some melted dark chocolate on top. Ganache would probably be better just because it holds a little bit softer and it's going to be a little creamier. I like to leave it plain to keep it a little bit healthy, but I also like to give you options. We're going to set this aside until it sets, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So the dessert was chilling in the fridge for an hour. It could have used another hour just so it can set a little bit better, but it is ready to be served, and it is just like candy. Take it out of the parchment paper, and the best way to serve it is in slices. That's traditional, but this is super sweet, and it is a little rich, so you can cut it into little squares if you want to, but I'll take a slice, thank you very much. I'm also gonna make myself a cup of coffee and give it a little taste first. Let me give it a taste, and I'll make myself a cup of coffee. So delicious. I'm not a huge fan of tahini or sesame. I do like it here and there, like on bread. I like pastelli too, if you've ever had that sesame and honey dessert. This is delicious. It's very well balanced, and it would do really well with a little bit of chocolate. I feel like chocolate would take this to the next level. So you can melt some semi-sweet chocolate or some dark chocolate or a combination of both and drizzle it over the top. I think the crunchiness of it would be better than a ganache. I know I did say ganache. Both will work. If you like a smoother, creamier chocolate, make a ganache. If you want it a little bit crisper, just melt the chocolate and pour it on top. Once you make it, put it in the fridge and let it set, and it'll be ready. This tastes like candy. It goes really well with coffee. I think it's the perfect dessert to serve to guests too. It stays fresh in the refrigerator for days. What else? The only thing you're just going to want to be very careful of is mixing. Once you add the syrup to it, if you overmix it, it's going to dry up. And ask me how I know. When I was testing this, I did overmix it. I made it in a stand mixer, which I don't recommend. I recommend that you make this by hand just the way I did, so that way it's easier to control. Because the second it mixed too much, it dried up, it seized, and it became a hard block. And then I had to improvise, I added some honey to it, some water just to loosen it up a little bit. It still tasted good, but there were some dry bits throughout. So just keep that in mind, and I'll put all the tips and tricks on the blog post. You can get the exact measurements, the recipe, and all of those tips on dimitrasdishes.com. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you back here with another recipe. Yes, Sas?